Raising smart money children. Hey, did you learn how to be smart with your money when you were a child? Don't you wish you were? Don't you wish you learned it? It's not too late for your children. Stay tuned. What is raising smart money children? Well, when you think back about your life, wouldn't it have been great if somebody really taught you about money? If somebody taught you about investing when you were a young age? Well, it's not too late for your children now. And I'm so excited to bring with us a wonderful woman from Canada, Juanita Enns, who has dedicated her life to helping educate young people. Juanita was in need of some tools herself because she was raising four children in addition to running a business full time with her husband. And I'm just going to bring her on and ask her how she did all this. Juanita, and welcome.
Hi. Hi. Thanks so much, Lynn. I've been so excited for this conversation today.
Me too. Now, I want everybody to know before we go on that you are an international best-selling author, and this is the book right here. It is Your Kids' Own Money, and you have absolutely changed hundreds of lives, both parents and children, by writing this book, a simple to understand book for children, but also for parents to help their children. And it's called The Four Pillars for Living a Money Smart Life. So, why don't we begin, Juanita, by telling everyone what do you think is, first of all, a money smart life for children?
Yeah, I think maybe I'll just start off with a story of just what we did with our children because we have a business up in northern Canada. So we lived on a small island every summer with our children, our four kids. So they all were given jobs during the summer. And because of those jobs, we started learning because I actually had never really been, not that I wasn't taught, but nobody had really dedicated their time. They just passed on what they knew. Um, so as we had our children working in the lodge, they were earning money during the summer. So every day they'd have a job that they had to do. They had to organize their time to make sure the job got done. Because if they didn't do their job, other employees were affected by it. And they started from ages 6 and 7. So they learned responsibility really quickly. And then at the end of every summer, we would take all of this money that they had earned, which was often paid to them in nickels and quarters. So you can imagine the visual that that gave all of us, because I'd actually never really seen that. I just saw them earning these nickels and quarters. And at the end of the summer, we would organize this. So we would take their pile of coins and then we would put some away for giving because we always wanted them to not just focus on themselves, but the idea of giving to other people helped them focus out on other people too. And then after that, we took what was left. So we gave 10% to put that in a giving envelope. And then the rest of the pile, they split in half. And half went into a savings envelope, which they took to the bank. And the other half they could spend however they wanted. So it actually was such a great, and nobody had really taught me that. It just seemed to be a smart thing to do. I didn't want them to spend all the money that they'd earned over the summer.
So, you really
So,
came upon
yeah.
that system organically by yourself on your own. It was really your idea. Do you have, actually, you have a name for it in your book. What is that system is called?
Well, I call it the 10-50-50 rule. It doesn't add up to 100. So people are like, that doesn't make sense. But if you understand, we put 10% aside for giving.
Right?
And then that big pile, we just split in half. That was an easy thing for the kids to understand. So
Yeah.
half of it they saved and the other half they got to spend. So that's how we came up with that.
Now, it sounds like such an easy rule. Uh, Tell us, let's go back to, you mentioned that you and your husband had a business in a remote island, right?
Yeah.
In Canada. Where is that? Could you share with the audience? Give us a little visual of
Oh,
how
sure.
remote that was.
Yeah, this is actually, if you know where, like if you're from the States and you know where North Dakota, Minnesota area is, if you go straight north 10 hours, and then on a little island on one of those big lakes that you see on the map. We were on that island. And so our job was to take care of guests that would come there. And the guests would come to go fishing every summer. And so our kids learned from a young age to, interact with the guests. So they learned to communicate early. They worked with other staff. And it was so neat because one of their first jobs was bagging the lunches for the next day for the guests. So if they didn't bag those lunches, then the guests wouldn't eat the next day. So they saw a direct impact there. And as soon as they finished bagging those lunches, then they would go right to the office. So you can, I mean, honestly, Lynn, we did not plan any of this. We just had days of summer, lots of daylight, and we were trying to keep our kids busy. So this is where this came from. But they would bag these lunches, then they would go right to our office. And the girl that would pay them in the office, we still see her. She actually has kids of her own. So it's been
And
a long-term relationship.
in coin. Here's
In
your
nickels and quarters. So yeah.
and
So
so they
they'd be so proud of themselves.
to feel and really relate to money. It's kind of unusual today, I think, where everything's on the phone, and we'll get into that in just a second. But that was the genesis. That's how this all began. Could you share with us that do you still have the same company, correct?
Mhm.
And what is the name of the company? Tell us a little bit about the company now, this years later, just a little bit about what you do now with your husband.
Yeah, the company is called Kississing Lodge. That's the resort. And then it actually grew into an air service. So that's called Wings Over Kississing. And it's a native Cree word for cold lake, is what Kississing means, because all of our guides are Native American or Native Canadian, sorry. And yeah, so our kids grew up in this kind of atmosphere, float planes, wilderness, bush, and now they are actually running these companies with my husband. I've actually stepped back and I'm focusing on this and just being mom and wife. And they are running they're multi-million dollar companies with my husband right now, and they're 20 to 27 years old.
Now, isn't that fantastic? To
Mhm.
raise children with the concepts of value, learning how to create value, learning the importance of money and how to distribute it. But now I'm most fascinated with the first part of your rule, which was put 10% aside to give. Tell us more about that. And over time, as your children began to do that, did you see a difference in them in terms of this giving attitude?
Yeah, yeah, it's actually been, I mean, we go to church. So part of going to church was giving 10% of our income. Like my husband and I did that. I was taught that as a young child. Um, but now we see our kids in their 20s who now um, go to church on their own, and they are still giving, and now quite a bit more than what they used to give. It does, I mean, yeah, it is really impacting. And I can't explain it. There's this idea that you have more than enough that you can give, you can afford to give. It keeps you focused out on other people, which I think is so, so important. Like with us on our phones all the time, it's so easy to become focused on ourselves. And I think that giving aspect just keep some others focused, which is really key. And then it's been really interesting through the company. We actually have a program called Cast It Forward, and that's a giving part of our company.
I love it.
And it's introduced us to so many people.
Forward. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely in line with the fishing. So, yeah, and it's impacted families. We had a young mom with her two children from Ukraine that came last year. She lost her husband. Um, so yeah, we've really tried to use that program to help other people enjoy what we get to enjoy all the time, which is the Canadian wilderness.
Thank you so much for all of that. Now, when did you actually decide that you wanted to write a book and turn that idea of the success of raising your children with these principles of giving and then uh, saving half and then being able to spend half? I'm going to come back to the savings part because that's where the investing comes in, which we builds wealth over time. But when was it that you thought, okay, I want to write a book and help others? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think that was probably like 2019. I was actually seriously thinking about it because I had more time. Our kids were taking on more responsibility. I had more time, and I was finding I was talking to people to their age group more and more, because I it was something that we had just done as a family, but I had never really seen how other kids had been raised. And we were noticing that some of their friends were really good with their money, I would say, but there were the majority, the majority don't. Like, they spend their prime years going into debt and then spending their prime years getting out of debt before they even start building wealth. I
Yeah.
think is the normal pattern. And we were really trying to break that pattern with our kids, and now we just want to spread that to as many kids as we possibly can, because it makes such a big difference.
I think so. And so this book is really doing the job, I think. It's raising money smart children. Now, talk about how this is a good tool for parents. This is actually written for children to
Mm-hmm.
use. I mean, it's just like a workbook almost that
Yeah.
children can use page by page, and it's simple. I can see here that you talk about what can happen when you invest. If you start at the age of 20 years old and you only invest, uh, your initial investment is only $500, and then your regular monthly investment is $100 after that, and let's say an interest rate of 5%. You say by age 65, if you start at 20, you're going to have $207,000. So you're already teaching children the value of compound interest here, and
Mm-hmm.
how things work over time, and what it is that how their monies can grow over time. That must, be some eye-popping ideas for children.
Yeah.
But you not only do that, but I'm noticing you also uh, invite children to use this as a workbook to write their strengths, to write about how can they earn money, what are their gifts. Could you talk to us a little bit about what you call 4 pillars of living a money smart life?
Yeah, I wanted to create something that was really simple, because I think money can seem complicated. And especially when you get into investing, it can seem really complicated. And I think people shy away from investing because it sounds so complicated.
Yeah,
And I think today it's actually been simplified so much now. When it's accessible, you can start investing with $5. You don't
that's
need the minimum. Like, yeah, with so little. Whereas before, I think you needed to have lots of money to start investing. Now you need very little, so kids can start investing, and then they can really take advantage of what I call their greatest asset when it comes to money, which is time. And kids have more than I have, you have. They've got more wealth really inside them as a young child, but they just don't have the knowledge. And I think parents don't have the confidence. So that's part of it. Um,
well,
yeah.
parents don't have the knowledge themselves really to
Right.
impart, nor the importance. So the first pillar I thought was really fascinating, the 80/20. I'm sorry, yeah, the 20/80 rule. The
Mhm.
20/80 rule. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so what we did is we just basically took the giving, saving, and investing. So I call it behavior based budgeting, because budgeting, I think, just throws people. So I thought, how can we make budgeting so easy that you'll do it without even thinking? And that's automating. So we give, we save, and we invest automatically every month. So we don't even think about it. And then the rest of our time is spent growing our skills. And then that will increase our income as well. So that's where we spend 80% of our time.
So 20% is automating and investing.
Mhm.
80% is, how did you say that?
Just growing the children growing their skills and their knowledge. Yeah.
Growing yourself, empowering
Hmm.
yourself, exploring what you do best, exploring your dreams. That's the first pillar. I think that was
That's
so
so fun.
brilliant. And then the next pillar is pay yourself first.
Yes, that's so important. Because I think I think we all try to budget by, we get our paycheck, whether it's like $100, and we pay all of our bills, and then we try to save anything that's left. And I think that if we just turn that on its head and we get our $100 and we pay ourselves first, we put that money into saving and investing right away. That's our future building, building, building. And then we pay the rest of our bills from what's left. And then that forces us to live within our means.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And then third pillar is dream and plan.
That's the fun part.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that is, I think, as your children, especially if they're starting to put that money aside and they start seeing that money grow, I think they get excited about what's possible. So
Mm.
they've got momentum. And then they get to go and start dreaming. Because I think when kids, especially if parents, if they haven't come from a home, and I mean, I didn't come from a home from with a lot of money, and all I knew what to do was just to save what I could. That's all I knew. And so it often felt like you were taking two steps forward and like three steps back, and it just didn't feel like you were getting ahead, and you would lose morale. So this, if you can get your money building right away off this, pay yourself first, invest first, and then live on what's left, and you see that money growing, then kids get excited about money. They get excited about their future, and then a world of possibility opens up, really.
Could tell us about one of the dreams that maybe one of your children had. Got excited about savings, and can you translate that for us into their dream making?
Yeah, actually, we have one daughter. She's actually in South Africa right now. So she's been, this will be her sixth continent, and she's 25.
Oh my,
She's finished her second degree, and she's done it all while investing. We did, as parents, save money up for her education, but she did pay for a portion of her education. We contributed, but she definitely had her part, and she's done an excellent job. So she's traveled and gone to school, completing 2 university degrees at the top of her class. Um, and I think that was possible because she was able to manage her money well. She was able to put money aside and travel to places like Iceland, and she's in South Africa right now. She's been down to South America. She's been to Australia. She's been to Asia. Like she's been everywhere,
the
and
woman
she's
of the
25.
world. She's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
woman of the world. So that must have been her dream, to see the world, and obviously to have savings like that and be able to do so gives young children a totally different vista of their possibility, their future possibility, and that self worth that comes along with that. It's just so powerful. And then the fourth pillar is be generous and give. And we've
Mhm.
all spoken to that. So I think these four pillars really wants, and I also love your introduction. It says, "Who wants to be a cajillionaire?"
Yeah.
Who wants to be not just a millionaire, but a cajillionaire.
Bajillionaire. Yeah.
So you're really capturing the essence of how to help young people not only think but take action on becoming a smart money person. Talk, please, about how you have seen this book in the hands of parents. How has it been a good tool for parents?
Yeah, I think because the children can write right in the book. I think it's got at the end of every pillar, it's got 3 steps for the children to take. And as they take those steps, the first step that they take is actually getting up those accounts set up and getting their money growing. That's like the first pillar. And then right away that money is growing while they're learning more. So it's very simple, it's very action oriented, and the kids can write right in the book, and it takes all the guesswork out of for parents. Like they can just go pillar by pillar and help their kids get set up really well with their money.
Oh, okay. So it sounds too as if the parent and the children become partners.
Yeah,
So
very
it's
much.
a way to communicate, because then the parents can say, "Oh, we can set up that account and maybe help facilitate that and really encourage." And that's relationship building. If you can
Hmm.
have positive relationship building around money, just think how your life could be different, right?
Yeah, that is such a good point. Yeah.
I I just love it, and it's very very simple to hold. I love it's like a little workbook, and the your graphics are darling. And
Yeah.
here I can see that you've had a beautiful artist. Were you the artist?
I was not. No, I had a good friend. Good friend. Yeah.
Good friend who is the graphic has just did a beautiful job, and I love they have a ladder to
Yeah.
into your dreams. And really this is the tool that I wanted to bring to all of you, because Juanita has, I think, opened the pathway to building real wealth in the future, not just in one country. This is this is valuable globally around the world. And have you started to translate this into other languages yet, Juanita?
No, not yet. We had it sell in Japan. I know it's sold in Japan and Australia and like a lot of the like Canada, the US, and some European countries is where it
With
generally went.
some countries
England.
so far. Well, who knows with AI and the
Yeah.
future of translation getting so easy to do, we invite you to make sure that you at least can get a copy for yourself. And if you have multiple children, make sure that you have a copy for each one so that it can make a personal gift for that person. And so tell us, Juanita, how everyone can get a copy of your book.
Yeah, they can actually email myself or yourself, Lynn, and or they can go right on Amazon. It's on Amazon as well.
Okay, we will put that Amazon right here. The link is going on right now, and also Juanita's email address.
That'd be
Do
great.
you have a preference on?
I prefer if people wanted to reach out directly because then I can answer questions as they have questions. And I'd be happy to go through you, Lynn. I'd be very happy to go through you. That's no
Well, I
problem.
would prefer they come to you because then maybe you can put your signature
Yeah,
on the book.
absolutely. 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 Yeah.
That's wonderful. So I just want to thank you, Juanita, for being a woman of vision and a woman of action. You're not only a successful entrepreneur, it sounds as if you are, juggling all of those balls that all of us do
Hmm.
juggle. You're an entrepreneur, you're a wife, you're a mother. You very much are now a successful international best-selling author, and we want to support you. We want to support all these young people and really make a difference for how not just our generation, but the generations to come. And they just think about how smart money children can grow up to be smart money investor adults and pass on that legacy. And I think that you not only stand for that, but I want to thank you personally for taking action. Thank you so much for being on today and creating the impact that you do. I really, truly appreciate you. Thank you so much, Juanita. Is there anything final that you would like to add?
Well, I just want to tell everybody I've enjoyed Lynn's classes. They have been a highlight, and I'm spreading all the good news to everybody that I know. So your message is getting out too, Lynn, very much. So I
Yes,
appreciate you. I appreciate you a lot because I'm
I
still
appreciate
so
you too.
much.
She's talking about the classes that I'm teaching for Money Talks for Women.
Hmm.
Again, we are spreading the confidence that's needed to become ace money managers, and we're hoping that it will impact women globally and now children.
Yes. Yeah. That's exciting.
So much again for being with us today, Juanita. Make
You
sure
as
that you all get a copy of your
well.
book for your children, Your Kids' Own Money by
Yes. I'd be
Juanita.
happy to sign it for sure.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Signed copy.
Yeah.
So click the link below and make sure that you get your copy and maybe multiple copies for lots of children. And if you are also in a philanthropy that supports children, think about getting maybe 100 copies and giving multiple copies makes great gifts as well.
It
So
does.
with that in mind, thank you so much. Thank you, Juanita, and thank you all for watching. And we'll see you next time at Money Talks for Women.